Welcome everyone, it's Egwin here. Welcome to Beyond Systems and my channel. Now today we are talking about another very simple exercise that has to do with core function. Before we get started right into the video, let me say thank you to all my Patreons and all the people who support me and my channel. It really helps a lot and makes it possible for me to actually dedicate some time and put out more free content like this and just reach more people in total. Thanks a lot for that, and if you want to join in, there's links down below where you can find exclusive content on my Patreon page and so on and so on. Other than that, let's just get started right away. Now we are at the moment in this core series, and when I always talk about core, like I keep mentioning, yes, this is a standalone video, by the way, if you're new to the channel, but it helps to also check out the other videos. When I'm talking about core, I'm not just talking about my abdominals or like the muscles in this immediate central region. The core actually starts in the legs and the core expands all the way up into the chest area. It's really just this functional junction between the higher up and the lower down. So this is what I consider core, and it's really much more about functionality than it is about pure strength training and tension and muscle strength, because that often leads to too much of tension and actually increases problems in the long run rather than decreasing. The exercise that we are doing today is the following. Just stand in a hip to shoulder width stance, then shift your weight to the right side so that you can solidly balance literally on one leg without falling over. So just make sure to shift your weight as far as necessary to solidly stand on the right foot. And now what we're going to do is you're going to connect your upper body with your pelvic ring and with the leg, with the left free leg, and you're going to use the muscles in your right hip joint to tilt the whole body sideways, like so. Then move a little to the front. Move back. Move back to center. Move to the side. Move a little closer again. Move to the front. Move back. Move to the side. Then move to the front. Then move back. And come back here. Now let me show you this from a different angle. Different angle, just from the side, it looks like this. I'm standing solidly on my right leg. I'm bringing the left foot off the ground. I tilt my body sideways. Shift. Note that my whole body pretty much keeps its structure. So there is nothing like this going on. No massive hip movement. I'm actually connecting my upper body through the hip joint with the leg that is free at the moment. The area where you will probably feel that if you do it a little bit is on the outside of the hip of your standing leg. So that's the area that gets the most workout. However, you'll also feel it a little bit in the rest of the body. It requires you to connect the rest of the body in such a way that there is something like stability, but still you need to retain enough flexibility, mobility, adjustability to actually be able to balance. And that's the tricky part for this exercise. Let me do this again from a slightly different angle again on the left side. Now I shift my weight completely to the left side. In principle, the joint where 90% of the movement happens is the left hip joint. Make sure to have the standing leg in a posture that doesn't hurt the knee and where the arch of your foot is properly supported. So if your longitudinal arch of the foot constantly collapses, make sure to work on that first, or to actively try and pull it in so that you really have this solid 3-point stance between your heel, big ball, small ball of the foot, instead of constantly collapsing towards the inside over the longitudinal arch of the foot. That's one thing. The other thing is make sure that your knee is not completely locked to the rear, but it's much rather in a gentle, relaxed, slightly micro-bend state, because this allows for a little bit more adaptation and a little bit better feeling of balance. Once you do this, you connect your upper body through your hip with the right leg and you tilt sideways. I'm just holding my arms here to show you that your upper and lower body is connected. Now you can tilt a little bit to front, body back, tilt back, back in. Very important, especially when you go back, not to bend in the hip, but to keep that structure of the upper body, the hip and the lower body being connected with each other. It doesn't have to be a 100% stiff connection, but it's good if it's, say, at least an 80 to 85% connected state between the upper body and the lower body. What does this exercise do? Like I said, this exercise works on hip mobility around this area, especially the abductors, especially my rotational aspects in the hip. It works on the glutes, it works on stability, and it also works on what most people would consider core. Because from this position, when I tilt sideways, I have to stabilize my pelvic ring somehow with my ribcage. Otherwise, something like that would happen. It would just simply distort me and pull me in all different angles. That's not what I want. I really want, from this position, to completely connect it, move my pelvis as if the only thing where my whole body was balancing on is actually, in this case now, my right hip joint or my left hip joint if I do it on the left side. Note that there are obviously anatomical and physiological limitations to this, because especially when you lean the upper body backwards from here, there is a point where you just simply cannot go any further, but that's a physiological limitation that has to do with the ligamentum iliofemoralis. That's a spiral band, literally a spiral ligament that runs around the column of the femur and that inhibits this motion backwards. However, to the front, that's a whole different story. You can move pretty much freely to the front in the hip joints. I'd say to get started with this exercise, start out with shifting your weight to the side and then connect your hip with your shoulder area. If you want, you can actually use your hands just very gently to make sure, is my hip and my ribcage actually connected with each other? Or is there sideways or twisting movement? If there is any sideways movement, this might have two reasons. One reason might be that you do not yet have the strength in your abdominal and spinal region to actually stabilize this, or two, you do not yet have the micromechanics and the balance to actually stabilize your weight on the one foot. Either way, it's a functional way to connect the lower body with your core and with the upper body. A thing that I would definitely suggest after doing an exercise like this is really shake it out real good, make a couple of hip circles, just swing a little bit around to actually equalize tension and get this high tensed aspects around the rotational areas of the hip out of the structure again, so that what remains is just an activated muscle, meaning a muscle that just did some work, rather than a quite tensed muscle that at the moment isn't capable of a full range of motion because it's too tense. So this is something, just this gentle shaking out, doing a little bit of hip movement, shaking it out a little bit, shaking it out a little bit this way to actually loosen this area up again. And once you do this, you most likely after this exercise feel a lot more grounded, you feel the ground much better, you stand much more solid on the ground, but you don't just feel that on your feet, you actually feel that all the way up into your high chest area that suddenly feels connected with the ground, and when you walk around, this area is still soft, but you are so connected. You literally, it almost feels as if you're walking in earth and literally nothing could shake you. It's a lovely exercise. It's a very low intensity exercise if you keep the ranges of motion to a minimum. So literally almost everyone who can stand and balance on one leg can do this exercise, because the second you get out here, even if you only do it this much, it already requires front side of the belly, side, a little bit more of the spinal muscles. It already requires all of those core areas to actually work. And it's incredible. It's such a beautiful and such an easy exercise to do. Try it out. If you are more advanced, still start with small movement and then slowly go to much larger movement expressions. But always make sure, especially for instance when bringing the upper body backwards, make sure to keep that structure in the lumbar spine and make sure to avoid any extreme bending in the lumbar spine. You really want this connection to happen and the lumbar spine to stay in neutral, and then again you move, then you shake it out, or maybe even grab the structure and massage it a little bit or shake it out. So that's what you want in this specific case. You want stability, yes, but you immediately want to bring it back to life, bring it back into flow. That's how you train a muscle functionally, not by pumping it up with iron and with massive loads. But we'll talk about this and more intense core training in the next videos. Have a wonderful time. If you have questions, leave them in the comment box down below. If you want to work with me one-on-one because you say, well, I'm not sure if that's actually something for me, or how can I adjust this exercise, no problem. There is always the possibility to do online one-on-one training with me, or if you are in the same country than me at the moment, there is also always the possibility of 2 one-on-one trainings, literally in person. So whatever. Have a wonderful time. I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing back from you. If you liked the video, please click like, share and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date for more out of this specific series around core and core mobility, core function, and also other videos like walking, how to stretch, and so on and so on. Have a wonderful time. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and see you around. Bye.